The dragon storms rage on in Alchemy, Tarkir. There are 30 new cards coming to Magic the Gathering Arena on April 29th, and they will be playable in Alchemy, Historic, Timeless, and Brawl. I'm Amy the Amazonian, and in this video I'll be going over all 30 new cards, starting with 3 legendary creatures. Hamza, Might of the Yathan, is an elephant warrior that calls back to Tarkir's history of morph and manifest. Whenever a land enters under your control, you manifest a random creature from your library, and whenever you turn a creature face up, it endures, either getting counters or creating a spirit based on its toughness. This also works with other face-down creatures, like those from Manifest Dread, and other ways to flip those cards face-up without paying their mana costs, such as Hauntwood Shrieker and Yaris, Roar of the Old Gods. It also works if you're turning them face-up with a discount using Harrowing Swarm. With lands unlocking even more face-down creatures, you can quickly empty your deck of basic lands using threats around every corner, and manifest a multitude of creatures at the same time. With Ashaya, Soul of the Wild, you manifest every creature in your deck, as each will enter as a land and trigger Hamza. Hamza can also help himself to face-down synergy with Trail of Mystery and Cryptid Inspector, getting you more lands and more power. If you choose to focus more on the extra Endure Hamza provides for your flipping creatures, you can increase the number of tokens you produce by using cards like Mondrak or Elspeth, or increase the +1/+1 counters using cards like Hardened Scales, Kami of Whispered Hopes, and Stalwart Successor. Lam, Stormcrane Elder, puts a new spin on Monastery Mentor by making one each time you cast a non-creature spell. The more Monastery Mentors you make, the more Monk tokens you make, and with all of these creatures having prowess, Lam is the perfect for a storm of spells. Cantripping spells, which replace themselves when you cast them, like Rebellious Strike, Chart a Course, Feather of Flight, Hymn to the Ages, and Crash Through, can help you go wide and tall, especially when combined with cards that help you refund some mana like Burgi, God of Storytelling, Stormkiln Artist, and Urabrask in formats like Historic. You can even conjure additional non-creature spells into hand using cards like Tome of Gadwick, Tome of the Infinite, and Endless Corridor, so that you always have the means to make more mentors and mentees. Shokai, Flickering Talon, is a red and white bird that helps you blink your permanents once per turn. When this card enters, your next non-creature spell is discounted by 1 mana, and when you cast your second spell each turn, you may exile a creature you control and return it to the battlefield. This flurry ability can flicker your permanents to help you dodge removal, or get you extra enter to battlefield value, like extra card draw from Helpful Hunter or removal from Solitude. You can even flicker Shokai to get another discount on your next non-creature spell. Casting 2 spells per turn can also help you gain power and evasion with Dragon Blood Twins. Attacking in with this creature conjures a copy into hand, and then both copies lose the double team ability. This gives you access to more spells to cast to trigger Flurry. When you cast your second spell each turn, this card and its twin both become 4/4 flyers, emulating the Dragons of Tarkir. Speaking of cards which can help you build up your storm count or trigger Flurry, Swiftspear's Teaching is a 1-mana red sorcery which draws a card and gives your next creature spell prowess and haste. This makes your next creature hit faster and harder, and rewards you for casting future copies of Swiftspear's Teaching even more, as it will give additional power and toughness to your prowess creature. This card could also help you flip an Urabrask, or give all your instants and sorcery Storm when you get to the ultimate ability of Roll Crackling Wit. Other spell-slinging creatures like Bria, Riptide Rogue, Indris the Hydrostatic Surge, or Stella Lee Wildcard will also benefit from having more low-cost sorceries to play with. Another low-cost sorcery, Illuminating Lash, deals 3 damage for 2 mana, and it gives you a boon to set up for your next non-creature spell, drawing you a card. In any deck looking to cast lots of non-creature spells, this provides both burn and card advantage. Spellslinging Synergy can also help you get an even more damage with Runescale Stormbrood, Accident-Prone Apprentice, and Coruscation Mage and its offspring. You can also go wide with Third Path Iconoclast, making tokens when you cast these spells. And if your Spellslinging is producing tons of tokens, you can increase their power with Waystone's Guidance. This spell also gives the first creature you cast each turn Mobilize 2, meaning that when it attacks in, it will create 2 attacking warrior tokens, which will be sacrificed at the end of your turn. Any aggressive deck will benefit from bringing 4 additional power in with its attackers, as the 2 tokens made from Mobilize will also get +1/+0. Some creatures will even draw you cards from those tokens entering, like Caretaker's Talent or Enduring Innocence, while others will add their own abilities, like Arabella Abandoned Doll. You can even increase the number of tokens you make with doubling effects or additional triggers. And if you want to hold on to those tokens, Zurgo Thunder's Decree will prevent their sacrifice at the end of your turn. If 1/1 warrior tokens weren't powerful enough for you, Thunderbond Vanguard makes all your future creature tokens into copies of itself, and it has power and toughness equal to the number of creatures you control. On its own, this isn't a powerful creature, but with a few token producers like Dollmaker's Shop and Impacall, or creatures with Mobilize, Thunderbond Vanguard will quickly take over the board. Rennie's Council may seem like an expensive spell on the surface, but with enough dragons in your deck, this will cost 1 blue mana to cast from your hand and only 2 red mana from the graveyard. Seeking a Dragon will set up for your synergy around cards like Sarkhan, Dragon Ascendant, Invasion of Tarkir, or Dragon's Fire. It also works with other dragons like Miriam, Sentinel Worm, Lozan, Dragon's Legacy, or the card's namesake, Irene. The card's actual mana value does allow it to draw you cards off Up the Beanstalk, or make some mighty tokens off of Chrome Host Seed Shark, or tons of tiny tokens with Ovika Enigma Goliath. Tarkir Dragonstorm brought us omens and the dragons they foretell, and Alchemy Tarkir continues with 3 more. Cunning Azure Scale will get you 2 cards in hand when it enters, or 1 card from the Divining Dive Omen. If you choose to cast the Omen side of the spell, the card will be shuffled back into your library, allowing you to draw the card again later in the game. Because these spells secretly seek, you can set up your hand with lands or more spells without revealing to your opponent what you might be missing. Both spells also get you additional value from Vexir, which creates Golem tokens when you seek, or Lurker in the Deep, which conjures additional copies of cards you seek directly onto the battlefield as face-down creatures. Similarly, the Pearl Lake Warden's Nesting Instinct Omen will also seek a card for you, getting a random land from your library into play untapped. If this card happens to show up on top of your deck, you can even cast it without having to put it into hand first. Casting it from the top of your library can also get you more with Kellen the Kid, Gem Lightfoot, or Vega the Watcher. The might of the Stonehide Ancient can be heard through its Omen spell, Warning Tremor. Deal damage and discount your next dragon spell before shuffling this card back into your library, or cast this dragon to return all non-dragons to their owner's hand. With dragons being both powerful and high-cost spells, both spells on this card will help you unleash dragons and make way for a powerful flying attack. If your deck is playing Dragonstorm enchantments, these dragons also let you put them back into your hand to cast again. Casting Omens can unleash temporary dragons and increase your chances of drawing those dragons again with Dragon Soul Prodigy. Whenever you cast your first Omen spell each turn, conjure a duplicate of that card onto the battlefield with haste. At the beginning of your next end step, the card is shuffled back into your library. Whether you're using this to fill your hand with Divining Dive, grab lands and gain life with Claim Territory, deal damage and bounce non-dragons with Warning Tremor, or destroy artifacts and enchantments alongside creatures with Petty Revenge, you'll also get a powerful dragon in play which can attack or defend you if the Omen is cast on your opponent's turn. You can also fill your library with dragons and omens using Dragonweave Tapestry. Not only does it tap for mana of any color, it also draws you cards when you cast any dragon or omen spell. When this artifact enters, you conjure a spellbook containing the Stormbroods into your library twice and then shuffle. That means you'll have 2 copies of Purging Stormbrood, Twin Maw Stormbrood, Runescale Stormbrood, Disruptive Stormbrood, and Whirlwing Stormbrood to draw from. For dragon decks, including decks that don't normally run spells of those colors, this gives you access to a suite of spells you might otherwise miss out on. Even a mono-red Brawl deck helmed by Sarkhan Dragon Ascendant or Lathlas Dragon Queen can access hexproof and lifelink, enchantment removal, and counter spells. Dragon Typhoon also conjures dragons, but this time directly onto the battlefield. This 6-mana enchantment calls up a storm of dragons, letting you draft from its spellbook each time you cast a dragon or non-creature spell. This spellbook lets you draft from Thunderbreak Regent, Stormscale Scion, Magmatic Hellkite, Boltwing Marauder, Narrative Heart of the Storm, Caldera Pyramaw, and Thundermane Dragon. All powerful creatures, many of which will increase the damage dealt by the rest of your dragons. If it's too early for a high-cost enchantment, or you just don't have the spells needed to follow it up, Dragon Typhoon can also be channeled to create a 4/4 Flying Dragon token. And because channeling is an instant speed ability, that dragon token is hard to stop and could show up at any time. Bator's Edict adds non-land permanent removal for just 3 mana, and with a deck full of dragons, Bator's Edict gets even better, allowing you to behold a dragon in play or in your hand and perpetually grant it 2 additional power and toughness. Even in a deck with few or no dragons, this is a powerful removal spell, but the Behold ability pushes it to the top, even helping you get 2 more toughness to trigger its namesake, Bator Kin to All. Draconic Fealty discards the highest mana value card in your opponent's hand, cutting them off from whatever may be their most powerful spell. If your deck is built around discard, this spell pairs well with Bandit's Talent in Tiny Bones, Bauble Burglar. This card also makes use of the Behold ability, exiling your opponent's graveyard if you reveal a dragon or have one in play. This can help ensure that your opponent doesn't reanimate the discarded spell or make use of Harmonize or Flashback to cast it again from the graveyard. And what powerful dragons to behold! Mardu Thunderkite gives you a choice of how to buff itself and your other creatures when it enters, allowing you to choose from Menace for evasion, Lifelink to sustain you, or Haste to get in damage right away. And it sure is good at getting in damage. This 3-mana flyer may only have 2 power, but it has Mobilize too, meaning it attacks with 2 additional warrior tokens which are sacrificed at the end step. Whether you're looking for damage that sticks around in a go-wide strategy with Zurgo Thunder's Decree, or looking for sacrificable creatures to feed your hardened tactician, or going for a bit of everything with Venerated Stormsinger, the Mardu Hellkite can fit into many strategies. And because it's a creature with only 2 power, you can double both of its triggered abilities with a Delny or a Roaming Throne naming Dragon. With an abundance of warrior tokens being sacrificed, the Delcoven Outrider can make your future attacks more powerful by perpetually giving the topmost creature in your library +1/+1 each time a permanent is sacrificed. This isn't just triggered by sacrificing creatures, but lands, treasures, and other permanents too. Just make sure not to shuffle your deck too often, or you might not find the creatures you've been perpetually growing. You can even pair this up with Yuri Master of the Review, Mayhem Devil, and the Balrog Durin's Bane to get even more from your sacrifices. And some of the best creatures to sacrifice are the ones that come back on their own from the graveyard. Runeblade Razor is a 1-mana 2/1, which raises itself from the dead the first time it dies. This can make it into the perfect creature to swing in with to trigger raid on cards like Alacia Who Laughs at Fate, so you can bring back your other fallen creatures for a second chance at battle. This also triggers your abilities that care about cards leaving the graveyard, like Defiled Crypt and Insidious Roots. Pampered Loamfrill is a beloved little lizard, which conjures a duplicate of another creature in your graveyard, perpetually giving it +1/+1 and moving it to the top of your library. Commanders which care about Death Touch, like Finn the Fangbearer and Brawl, will be happy to see this lizard join the fray. Its ability also triggers creatures like Keru Goldkeeper and Attuned Hunter to get treasures or even more power in play. Sibsig's Artisan lets you pass on the benefits of death after it passes. This card has a Renew ability which puts 3 +1/+1 counters on a creature you control, and perpetually gives that creature the same ability, so it can teach the next wave of creatures. Even if Sibsig's Artisan is milled by Awaken the Honored Dead or Blossoming Tortoise, you can share the power with your creatures without ever playing the spell. Permanents that care about cards leaving your graveyard also benefit from the chain of renewal the Artisan begins. Those +1/+1 counters will do more than just make your creatures stronger. With Hardened Bonds in play, you seek a creature once each turn when you put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and that card now enters with an additional counter. With many creatures already entering with counters like Marketback Walker and Mossborn Hydra, or placing counters each turn like Ornery Tumblewag, this is an incredible value engine, filling your hand, enabling itself, and making your creatures more powerful. You can also trigger this enchantment and double the counters it places using a card like Innkeeper's Talent. With this enchantment costing only 1 mana, it's the perfect spell to play on your first turn. Though not a survivor by creature type, the Amberplate Einok endures 1 in your second main phase if it's tapped, giving you the choice between making a 1/1 spirit token or adding a +1/+1 counter. This helps you go wide or go tall all on a single creature. And with the aforementioned Hardened Bonds in play, you can even seek more creatures in each second main phase. Or, if you want more counters each turn, Hardened Scales and similar effects like Stalwart Successor and Ozolith the Shattered Spire can help it grow even more. You don't even need to attack to get the Amberplate Einok to endure. You could use it to saddle or crew a vehicle, or even tap it for Harmonize or Convoke to help you cast your spells. Song of Seasons finds 3 lands for 3 mana, seeking a mountain, a forest, and a non-mountain, non-forest land. You put one of the lands into play, keep one in your hand, and put the third in your graveyard. Song of Seasons is a great way to get more mana, and mana in many colors. Those lands can also help Omnath, Dragonback Assault, Mossborn Hydra, and all your other landfall abilities get even more mana, counters, tokens, and more. It's worth mentioning that unlike Cultivate, this land comes into play untapped, so you can use it right away. You can also make use of the land in your graveyard with land recursion like Undergrowth Recon, Soul of Windgrace, Walk-in Closet, or Wary Zone Guard. Siege Rhino meets Crashing Footfalls with Call the Crash. This sorcery summons 2 Siege Rhinos into play for just 6 mana, or 4 mana if you're willing to wait a few turns. If you choose to suspend Call the Crash, the spell is exiled with 2 time counters, and in each of your upkeeps, you remove one of those counters. When the last time counter is removed and the spell is cast, you'll get 2 Rhinos in play, draining your opponent for 6 life and getting a pair of trampling 4/5s in play. That's a lot of power for only 4 mana. If power's what you crave, Stormforged Armor is an unusual equipment that requires life to be paid to equip, but conjures a ball lightning into play tapped and attacking whenever the equipped creature attacks. 6 extra power attacking in may be plenty for some, but you can do even more damage with Nerev Heart of the Storm, which would double the damage dealt. Ishin, 2 Heavens as 1, would cause the creature to trigger twice, making 2 ball lightnings instead of 1. And you can also get card draw from Samut, Vizier of Noctimun, if the conjured ball lightning deals damage to your opponent. Extra combat steps mean more conjured creatures with cards like Fear of Missing Out, Aurelia the War Leader, and All-Out Assault. You also don't need to pay 3 life to equip this if you have an alternate cost or ability like Brunor Battlehammer, Astor Bearer of Blades, or One Last Job doing the work for you. At the beginning of your end step, the conjured ball lightning will be sacrificed, but your opponent might not survive long enough to see that happening with all the damage you'll be doing. Audacious Knuckleblade packs the punch with a triad of exhaust abilities. Once you find one, you can find them all by paying 3 mana to seek another Audacious Knuckleblade from your library and put it into play tapped. You can also pay 2 mana to surveil and untap the creature, or 1 mana to give all your creatures haste. With enough mana, you could seek all your Audacious Knuckleblades from your library, untap them, and give them haste on the same turn. Though exhaust abilities can only be activated once in normal circumstances, cards like Sala Deck Boss can copy those abilities, and Elvish Refueler lets you activate exhaust abilities extra times. If you're looking to discount those exhaust abilities, Trackhand Trainer can conjure a Training Grounds to help out. Oasis of Renewal is a Sultai enchantment which gets you 2 cards when it enters, seeking a land and a non-land card, and then seeking additional cards when cards leave your graveyard. Whether you're exiling or casting cards from your graveyard, or returning them to hand or the battlefield, Oasis of Renewal will trigger. There's no shortage of synergy with this enchantment. And if you're seeking extra seek synergy, Lurker in the Deep conjures additional copies of the cards you seek directly into the battlefield as face-down creatures. And finally, Alchemy Tarkir's last card, Desert Cenote, brings us a desert which can tap for up to 2 different colors, and it comes in untapped if you weren't the starting player. This is great fixing which finds you the perfect mana for the cards already in your hand, and because of its land type, it has even more benefits. Colossal Rattleworm has flash when you have this under your control, and Outcaster Greenblade can search it from your library and put it into hand. If you have a Sandcloud Harbinger in play, playing the Desert Cenote will draw you a card and gain you 3 life. And if you're building around Yuma Proud Protector, putting this card into your graveyard also gets you a Plant Warrior token, and it can easily be sacrificed to the deserts from Amonkhet. With all 30 new cards from Alchemy Tarkir, your decks will be stronger than ever before. If you'd like to find more of my content, you can find me at youtube.com/Amazonian and twitch.tv/Amazonian. I make Magic the Gathering content with a focus on Draft and Brawl, and I have a series of videos with over 400 different Brawl decks on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching this video, and enjoy the new set!